and I welcome councillors, staff members, members of the gallery and our online viewers. So I declare this meeting open. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer recommendation stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders and emerging elders, both past and present. Procedural motion. I put forth that Council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5. Members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking to improve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holly, thank you. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I have no apologies. All councillors are present. Leave of absence is nil. Applications for leave of absence. Do I have any applications, councillors? No, thank you. I'll move on to declarations of members and officers' personal interest. We have a number of declarations in relation to 17.3.1. Are there any others, Councillor Holly?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I would like to add to that list as well, just for personal knowledge of people. And I'll stay in the chambers and take everything.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Are there any others? Thank you. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. We'll now move into public question time, and we have a number of requests for public question time. I just remind members of the public who raise a question during question time, please state your name and address. You are entitled at this stage to ask up to 2 questions before other members of the public will be invited to ask their questions. And I will allow a very short preamble if required before asking your question. So I'll go into public question time, and I'd like to invite India Stone forward. Welcome, India.
Hi, I'm India Stone.
Just one moment, just press on the, that's it?
Sorry.
You're right.
Hi, I'm India Stone. I live at 5 Good Court in Australind. I have 2 questions. I would like to know, when will the FOGO bin system be either restored to the BHRC site as organic waste or be ended so ratepayers are no longer paying for a service that's not being provided?
Thank you, India. I'll pass to the CEO. Thank you.
Yes, in regards to the FOGO collection and processing, the Shire of Harvey, as well as 6 other local governments in the southwest, have been in discussions with the state government in regards to interim and long-term solutions for FOGO. We're expecting written advice from the Minister of Environment shortly in regards to potential options that can be implemented shortly. And also we had a notice of motion from Councillor Craig Carboni in regards to looking at the costs of ceasing FOGO collection and processing, and that report will be provided through to the December meeting, and we'll also give an update through that council report in regards to those discussions and outcomes with the state government.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, given the Shire decided to hold meetings in Harvey as a temporary measure a year ago, when do you intend to restore meetings to Australind and make them at an accessible time for the majority of ratepayers who work usually later than 4 p.m?
Firstly, in regards to the council meeting time, we were previously meeting at 5 o'clock, but we had a notice of motion which was endorsed by council to commence meetings at 4 p.m. So that has been a decision of council to have those meetings at 4 p.m. In regards to the Australind council chambers, there was a decision from council to convert the council chambers into office accommodation because there is a shortage of staff space. We do have plans and money in the budget for an expansion of the Australind Administration Centre, and so when that build is complete, then there will be the ability to reinstate the council chambers either in the present room or in another space in those revamped facilities. There are requirements under the Local Government Act reform process for live streaming and audio recordings of council meetings for Band 1 and Band 2 local governments, and we're a Band 2 local government, so that means there's specific requirements that are needed to undertake as part of that, so it's not as easy as just choosing a facility such as a hall and being able to establish meetings. So it is something that council has been in discussions with in regards to the funding for those audio or live stream requirements to meet that for an alternative location. So we have got a number of things in action there to look at future reinstatement of those meetings down in Australind.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, India. I'd like to invite, is it Jemay Sullivan? Jemay, welcome. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jemay Sullivan and I live at 23 Heppingstone Road, Brunswick. I have brought with me today a petition to save our hot chips. This is to save our cafe at the Leisureland Leisure Centre. In the last 10 days, I've received 650 signatures. I've been lucky to have some helpers, but I've personally spoken to over 400 people, and everyone's quite upset that they won't be able to have their hot chips after their swim or basketball. And I just want to share two quick stories about, there's two lovely ladies that go there regularly for just a coffee. They never use the gym or swim. And there was a lovely lady that moved from the New South Wales, had no friends. She joined the gym and the creche, and eventually the creche mums invited her out for a coffee, and now they have regular play dates and they're still friends this day. So it just shows how important this cafe is to our community because it builds relationships and family traditions. So two questions I was asked repeatedly by multiple people were, why won't the Shire lease out the cafe to a third party? And two, we had an increase into our rates this year. Why can't some of that money be spent towards re-renovating to rebuild the cafe?
Through the CEO to Ms Hazelhurst, are you able to respond? Thank you.
I can certainly respond to the first one.
Thank
The
you.
second question I'll leave to
Yes,
council.
thank you.
So why not lease to an outside operator? The current cafe is actually requiring some upgrade of equipment and so on. So at the moment, significant investment would be needed to be able to bring it up to a standard where we could outsource it. That option, I believe, has been explored before with very little success. Part of the reason is the location of the cafe in the centre, and it's tucked kind of quite into the centre, so an external operator would have no pass-by traffic to rely on, as well as the centre traffic. And secondly, we have actually tried for the last 2 years to to engage a food and beverage supervisor to try to build the business of the cafe, and we've been unsuccessful in that. So those are the reasons that the cafe has been losing money for the last little while.
Right, and I'll attempt your second question, Jemay. In regards to rebuilding the cafe, I think the director has indicated there that there was some significant costs around rebuilding it, but you may be aware of the expansion of the LLC with the additional courts, and part of that modelling or that planning will be looking at perhaps a future cafe which may be not in the same location that it's in now. So that'll be a decision of council coming forward, whether we still want to go down that pathway. But at the moment, as the director indicated, the cafe has been making a significant loss over a period of time, and as a council we have to be fiscally responsible in this decision making, and you know, we've determined that the ratepayer would not be happy with the significant amount of loss that the cafe's been making. So we are looking at alternative options to still provide coffee and whatever else, maybe not hot chips, but maybe further down the track we can look at that again with the redevelopment.
Okay. Can I give my petition to anyone?
We have a time in the agenda that I'll be happy to accept your petition, and I'll call you up then. Thanks,
Okay,
Jemay.
thank you.
Thank you very much. My next one is Belinda Williams. Welcome, Belinda.
Thank you very much. My questions were just in response to my deputation last week and the Shire's Facebook post that went out on the Shire's social media page. I just wondered, will staff be providing council and or community with an action plan to address each issue that was highlighted by community in that post, and how many online submissions were received?
Belinda, I presume you're referencing the We're Listening post? Yeah, I don't have those details at the moment, but we'll take those questions on notice and get a response. Thanks.
Thank you, Belinda. Mrs. McGregor, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My questions are in relation to the Acrod Bays. I do have actually 4 questions. I'll beg your indulgence when question time is finished to do the other 2. The Uduck Road Harvey Chemist one, it says, and now this was installed earlier this year, the current bay is not up to standard, installed behind the chemist. What is not up to standard?
Okay, do we have... Are you happy to...
Mrs. McGregor, I know that there was a council report relating to this item from the previous director which detailed the installation of this bay and its dimensions and the reason why it wasn't a fully compliant bay. We can find those details and provide those through to you, but I don't have them on hand at the moment.
I would appreciate that, thank you, because I did write to the council and suggested that the bay should actually be one bay further west, because that would allow the boot of the car carrying the person with disabilities to get the boot opened, because there would be, it's just a laneway up the side of the chemist, and it would allow, and that wasn't done, and that's fine, you don't have to accept any suggestions I make, but if you're being practical, and for me, for example, you know, my husband has to get the wheelchair out of the car, and if you, where the bay is just now, with a car parked immediately behind it, then it's not easy. So I was just wondering what was not up to standard.
Yep, okay.
So we'll take that one on notice, Mr McGregor, and we'll
Yep.
get back to you on that one.
Thank you. The second question is in relation to the bays that you are planning to install at Cookernup, Harvey, Cookernup Community Hall, the UDUC Hall, the Benger Hall, and the Rowlands Hall, and the UDUC Hall at 81 UDUC Road. There's no, well, the first one has a gravel surface, so there's no formal car park, and neither there is on the other plans to install Acrod bays there. What do you do about installing an Acrod bay there? Just put up a sign in the space and leave the groundwork unpainted?
No, my understanding is we've had an addendum come through, so staff have reviewed those particular sites and understand that there needs to be some asphalt actually laid down to allow those Acrod bays to be compliant, so they're not on that loose gravel surface, but I'll put that through to the director.
Madam President, I don't have anything more to add. It is looking at exploring the surface and how it can best meet the requirements of the Acrod Bay, and we are aware that in a gravel, non-formalised car park, there will need to be an asphalt surface that is laid there.
Which is going to add considerably to the cost. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. If I can get
Mr
the other
McGregor,
two
I'm quite
later
happy if
on.
you've got two other questions
Yeah.
to save you coming up. I'm quite happy for you to ask those
Well,
questions.
thank you for that. The writing was very small on the bit that was attached. Now, I actually managed to increase it a bit. Third question was, you're planning to install one at the Brunswick Town Hall, and the comment was, location to be decided, and then, is it required? So my question is, how do you determine whether it's required or not?
Through to the director.
Through the chair, I think the intention was to consult with local community members around the usage and where the location would be best suited, and again, if it was required in terms of usage by people living with disability. In the first instance, we will always default to installing a bay, but we also will consult with the community about that.
Thank you. And the last one, at Australind, you're planning to put one at Eastwell Street, accessible fishing platform and toilets. The car park will need to be resurfaced as it's gravel. So when will that happen?
Thank you.
last
Through the
up.
chair, that will be the subject of discussion with council as part of the budget process. So early in the new year, we'll be reviewing our forward capital works plan, and that will be one of the things that will be discussed as part of those considerations.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mrs.
Madam
McGregor.
Chairman.
Thank you. Julianne, while you're up there, I might as well go to you for your questions. Thank you. Thank you, Julianne.
Thank you, Madam. I just have two questions, and I'm going to do a little deputation later in regards to 12.1.2, the tennis club lease in Brunswick. Can we please get a copy of two leases that are similar, for example, Australind and Harvey tennis clubs? There are some differences to ours that are not in others that I have seen, and I'd like to see why that might be. Another question I have is noted in the deputation, but it's really around, can we meet the Shire on site and do an asset inspection, I suppose, because part of the lease relates to how the quality of the current asset is, but we have got no baseline, so that would be really good to be able to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. In regards to a copy of the similar leases, manager governance, thank you.
Yes, through the Shire President, we can provide any lease that was subject to a public agenda. So I'm not sure if we've got one specifically relating to tennis, but there will be other sporting leases that we can provide. The lease agreement's consistent with the community lease policy though, so that's where we derive, I suppose, the conditions of that lease inside the lease document. And the second question in relation to an inspection. It was part of the report that we conduct the inspection once this is resolved through council, so Shire officers are happy to do that.
Okay, thank you, and I'll leave the rest for deputation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
So are you asking for the lease to be deferred because you haven't seen the lease yet?
That is correct. We saw one in April, and this will be in the deputation. We haven't seen a revised one, which this one has been, and is advertised on the website, which we didn't know was on there. We didn't know this was coming up as an agenda item either, so we would love to have some further time.
Thank you. And Mrs. Ferguson, welcome.
Thank you. Sheila Ferguson, Unit 4, 58 Old Coast Road, Australind. I have two questions and a short preamble to each, which I request is recorded in the minutes, as most of the information is not widely known and makes my questions clear. Each year, Council appoints 2 voting delegates and 2 proxies to the WA Local Government Association's annual general meeting, which is held on one afternoon of WALGA's annual 3-day convention. No other information is given at council meetings or to the community about any other matter relating to the convention or the AGM. Council Policy 1.2.7 states, Council supports the attendance of council members and partners to the annual WA Local Government Association Local Government Week Convention, and all costs for council members and an accompanying person for accommodation, meals, partners programme and conference dinner will be met by council. Publicly available information on pricing for the convention includes full delegate $1,250, welcome drinks $125, gala cocktail $190, icons breakfast $110. The policy also states council members are encouraged to share with council learning and insights from training and conferences. In the interest of community members and in line with council's promise to the community that we will keep you informed, will you please provide to council a report on the recent WALGA convention held from 22nd to 24th September, including which councillors and staff who were supported by Shire funds attended, how many councillors and staff were accompanied by a partner, an outline of the convention programme and AGM business, the outcomes and the benefits to councillors, staff and ratepayers, including any, quote, learning and insights gained, an account of how much was spent by the Shire on attendance at the convention, including itemised amounts for registration, welcome drinks, gala cocktail, icons breakfast, transport accommodation, other meals and drinks, any other payments, for example, other entertainment and partner activities.
We'll take that one on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson.
In the interest of transparency and keeping the community informed, will you present such a report on the convention each year?
That'll be a decision of council. I can say that we discuss the items for the AGM with councillors so that we have a uniform approach when the delegates actually vote. So the councillors are aware of the items that are coming up to the AGM, and the voting is done as per how council sees the position on each item. In relation to the costs, as I said initially in your first question, we'll take that one on notice. Yeah.
I realise councillors discuss it, but I'm talking about for the community's
report.
information. That's
Yeah.
why I'm asking if it can be an annual report to council so that the community...
We could possibly, I'll take that one on notice.
Thank you.
And I'll discuss that with the CEO, how we can proceed with that.
My second question relates to the items behind closed doors. 3 of the 5 items to be taken behind closed doors state what council is asked to do, i.e. to accept an application, to support proposed amendments and to consider nominations. Item 17.1.1, 10 Mulgara Street, Australin sale considerations, does not state what council is asked to do. Can you please state for this item what council is asked to do? What is it being asked to vote on?
Across through to manager governance. Thank you.
Through the chair, in some cases, the item is confidential until the resolution from council is put through into the minutes. So the community will receive that motion once it's endorsed. There's no requirement for us to state the reasoning.
Well, commonly, all the other items, they give, particularly there's one on infrastructure, it gives quite a considerable amount of detail. I think if there's a plan to sell the land, for example, that's a major decision. Why isn't there more information in the agenda item? It's common practice. It stood out to me that there is no information on what. That's why I'm asking it, because it stood out to me that there's no information on what council is being asked to do. We're normally told what council is being asked to do.
Sure. Through the Shire President, we aim to put as much as possible into the public realm as soon as possible. So in this case, if the information was withheld, it's likely commercial in confidence or information that couldn't be provided.
But it's not in confidence what you're being asked to do. The actual information may be in confidence, but what you're being asked to do, what you're being asked to consider, I don't believe is in confidence. I believe the public ought to know.
You can continue on manager governance. We'll just give Ms Williams an opportunity to answer your question, Mrs Ferguson. Thank you.
Thank you. I note that you feel that there's an inconsistency. It's up to the Shire officers that write the report to determine what level of information should be provided to the community at what time. In this case, I'd suggest it probably is commercial in confidence information, and we chose not to provide it. The resolution will be provided in the public minutes.
At the agenda briefing meeting last week, a member of the public made a deputation and she mentioned the amount of feedback she'd had on why council does not have the confidence of the public. I believe this sort of lack of transparency contributes greatly to that.
Thank you, Mrs Ferguson. Are there any other questions from the gallery? No, thank you. We'll move into petitions, deputations and presentations. I'd like to invite Esther Italiano to come forward. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Firstly, I want to acknowledge that I was very disappointed with some of the recent activity on Facebook. The tone and the way people were speaking to one another was concerning, and it highlighted to me that many in our community may not fully understand the correct way to raise concern or seek clarity. In saying this, reading the comments on there also highlighted that people feel they were a little bit unheard. Since then, I've had a very productive meeting with the Shire President. I was pleased to learn that community members can contact councillors directly and should be doing so. I also understand that the Shire will be increasing its marketing and communication to ensure the community is more aware of this process moving forward. I believe this will help reduce misinformation and give people a clearer, more respectful avenue to be heard. I want to also express my support for the idea of providing more space and time for community voices at our meetings. Allowing residents more opportunity to share their thoughts will help strengthen and trust and connection. Potentially, we could even look at holding these community forums twice a year to allow ongoing open communication. But I really do urge all our community to come to these meetings so that they can be heard and be told the right answers. I think Facebook isn't the forum for that. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to raise these suggestions, and I'm confident that together we can help create a more informed, respectful and connected community.
Thank you, Esther, and I do appreciate that opportunity to have that discussion with you. And yeah, we've taken that further with the CEO and our media team to address some of those opportunities where we can improve that line of communication between council, staff and the community moving forward. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
Julianne Hill. Thank you, Julianne.
I know this is because you love my voice, everybody. Right. I wanted to say thank you very much, and it's with really great pleasure and happiness that I stand here today and can say that we're nearly there. The courts are almost complete. You must be really happy to not be able to see me for the next 5 or 10 meetings. It's been a mammoth effort over a long 2 years, but the end's in sight. Starting from very rocky beginnings, we've seen some good relationships develop between the Shire and the tennis club. I hope these relationships can continue to develop in a positive way. Those who've stood out as being very supportive include Craig Gaboni, Robin Coleman, and I don't normally name people, Susie, Trish, Shane, particularly of late, he's come around to my way of thinking, Belinda, Kirsty initially, and Andre. We really appreciate the support you've shown, so thanks. We'd like to see these relationships keep developing. We believe that our communication channels have been markedly improved. So we're disappointed to hear that the lease agreement between the Shire and the tennis club has been brought up in the manner it has for agreement at this meeting. As a club, we received a draft lease agreement on the 8th of April this year. We've been operating since well before 1970 without any lease, very rarely asking Shire for support or help. At the time of receiving this lease, I let the Shire officer know that we would not be signing the lease at this time, that we'd look over it as the courts at that time were a gravel pit and the lease did not pertain to any part of the club at that time. Over the weekend, one of our eagle-eyed members saw that at tonight's council meeting, the Shire were going to be voting on the tennis club lease. It was the first we'd heard of it, and we had had no correspondence from Shire on this since April. Of particular concern were the new additions to the lease. The lease does resemble in most parts the lease that you are considering tonight. That was the one we received back in April. However, there are some differences and some issues we'd like to raise with the Shire for discussion through, though this isn't really the place for those discussions. So I'll raise some points and I'll just give comments on those points. It's recommended that the lease agreement be executed executed prior to the club being granted access to the refurbished courts. This will ensure that all terms and conditions are agreed upon and enforceable before the facility is reoccupied, supporting good governance and responsible asset management. That was the advice you've been given tonight to consider. We're not happy with that to happen. There are many points for discussion and agreement, and waiting for this to occur before court use means potentially another season gone. Plus, we've been operating as a club for 90 years or so without one. So, first of all, I'm going to ask if you can defer decision on this lease tonight, but I will also include some other points for consideration. One of those are in the attachments at 3.2. The lessee must pay the following charges to the relevant authority in full and on time. Charges for electricity, gas, water, which are or may in the future be imposed or charged for those services supplied. That is, I know, a copper plate wording, but at the moment there are no separate meters, and part of the agreement is that we now share those facilities. So that needs to be considered before we sign that lease. Charges for drainage, sewer and waste removal. These are also, again, combined with other users, particularly the toilet area, which is open on show day and for all other users of the ground, so possibly not our consideration. The other one around item 11, 16.6, the lessee will reimburse the lessor or the yearly building insurance premium and excess, if applicable, amounts on demand from the lessor. I've actually had a look at quite a few other leases, and that is not included in any others that I can see. So I wanted to know why the tennis club should be paying back the Shire those premiums. We already pay Tennis West Insurance $450 for public liability, products liability and professional indemnity, and MGIB insurance $718 for contents for fire, theft, etc., and covering all our kids as well that play junior tennis. We're really happy to have that chat about the premium cost and who Shire might be considering and the cost of that. But if it's going to be more than what we're already paying and that we have to pay it back for your building, then we do not think that's something we would want to sign. Lessee must pay or reimburse the lessor on demand for lessor's reasonable legal costs in relation to negotiation, preparation and completion of lease. I've dealt with many contracts in the past. This is one that we shouldn't be covering because it was at the behest of the lessor, not the lessee. So this is not something we want to cover or sign off on. Shire may also require an external consultant to review the works, such as that where they're impacting existing improvements. Again, if the Shire are asking that to happen, it should be not the tenant's cost. Maintenance, repair and replace any damaged locks. Provide additional and or replacement keys at discretion of the lessor. Love to do that. Shire, can you give us the keys for the toilets? We haven't got those. The Shire changed those a couple of years ago and we still don't have keys for them. Car park, responsible for ensuring the car park is clean and clear of rubbish, trip hazards or obstructions, immediate report any potholes, etc. So we'll get, when we do the assessment of the level of how the Shire, the grounds look at the moment, we'll get you to look at the car park at the back. They're quite severely damaged, the car parks at the back, from the current works that have happened, so we may need some repair works there before we can sign that one as well. Ask respectfully that the decision on the lease item on your agenda be deferred until a later date, till the Shire and Club can discuss some of these, including what I've just talked about, and that it does not preclude the Club from using facilities due to the reasons listed above. We've already had to wait 2 years, can't lose another season due to an issue such as this, particularly when we've been operating from the same facilities for over 90 years. On the weekend also, I've sent out a placeholder to you all to invite you to the grand reopening of the courts on February 10. So all councillors, CEO, Shire President, Trish, Susie, Shane, Andre, anyone else you tell me who I need to invite, you've all been sent an invite. We'd love it if you can turn up, and I promise to be more positive in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julianne. And Jemay, with your petition, thank you.
Thank you. I've never done one before, so I don't know who I actually hand it to. I also, it's back to front, and I do have an electronic copy if you'd like.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, because you said you wouldn't lease it out because it has so many issues that we have to, you know, put money in. Could you not put that part of agreement, like we won't allow you to open it unless you fix these things?
That is a council decision at the end of the day. As I said, we have explored the option of an external operator previously, and with no success. But yeah, again, that's a council decision.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Jemay. Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll move on to announcements by presiding members or CEO without discussion. Is Neil, CEO? We'll move into confirmation of minutes. So we have the ordinary council meeting held on Tuesday the 28th of October. The recommendation is the minutes of the council meeting held on that date as printed be confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover? Thank you. Councillor Morley, thank you. A seconder, Councillor McCarthy. Is there any discussion, councillors? Put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. Receipt of minutes and recommendations from committees. We have the Audit Committee meeting minutes held on Tuesday the 11th of November. We have a officer's recommendation that the minutes held as printed be received. Do I have a mover? Councillor Holly, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion, councillors? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. We now have the Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting, which was held on Monday the 17th of November. We have an officer's recommendation that the minutes of that meeting be, as printed, be received. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Bromham. A seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion, councillors? We'll put this, Councillor Bromham.
Just a comment that councillors might want to make sure that they are aware that that the FCOs are requesting some form of funding during the budget review.
Thank you, councillor Bromham. Any other? I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. We'll now move into the officers' reports. 12.1.1, which is the local government representative for the South West Development Commission Board. We are asking for any nominations. Are there any nominations? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Are there any others from the floor? No, I therefore have an officer's recommendation that council nominates Councillor Dickinson to submit an application for consideration as the local government representative on the South West Development Commission's board. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Coleman, a seconder, Councillor McCarthy. No discussion? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Congratulations, Councillor Dickinson. I'll move on to item 12.1.2, which is the lease agreement for the Brunswick Tennis Club. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover? Okay. Councillor Carboni.
I'll move to defer this item to be reported back at the February meeting in 26.
Seconder?
Can I just query, please?
I'll just get a seconder for this alternate.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. You have a question?
Just a query. I'm just wondering if Councillor Carboni would consider that the tennis club be allowed to use the courts in the meantime.
Yeah, certainly. I didn't think that'd be an impediment, but...
I'm going to just seek clarification before we go into debate in regards to if that is an impediment with the club utilising those facilities without a lease.
Thank you. Through the chair, it's a risk-based decision for council. There's things that we can probably do in the short term, such as licence the tennis club to use the courts. It doesn't cover off on any of the requirements, indemnities, use of the courts, etc. So councils, I suppose, risk would be open, given that the tennis club, I'm sure, adore the courts and would look after them. Perhaps that risk is low, but it's council's decision.
What did you call that document? A licence or...?
Yes, through the chair, the CEO has delegation to provide a licence under the local government property local law. It doesn't provide exclusivity for the person using the tennis court or the group using the tennis court, and generally if it was a club we'd still require things such as public liability insurance, etc. But it isn't exclusive use.
Councillor Carboni, would you be happy if we were to change the wording, allow the Brunswick Tennis Club to utilise the Brunswick tennis courts under a licence? All right, I'm going to go to questions. Councillor Coleman, and then I'll come to Councillor.
Thanks, Madam President. So in the informal arrangement that's been happening all along so far, has that been a licence, or can we continue with the same informal arrangement? And if not, why not?
Manager Governance?
Through the chair, it has been an informal arrangement, as have many community groups that we've discussed in this chamber. The local government property local law is the head of power of which we enter into permits or licenses with people to use our facilities. It would be, I guess, not compliant with that local law if we didn't issue a licence, but council, I suppose, is well aware of the historical MOUs that we have in place with multiple community groups where licences aren't issued. So up to council's discretion there.
Councillor Bronwyn, question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what are the liabilities or risks, if you like, in relation to council, to the club itself and to their clientele? What are we actually talking about as far as the risk profile?
Manager Governance?
Through the chair, and I might ask perhaps Kevin or Susie to speak to the community needs and maybe the infrastructure for the courts. But generally, we're looking to cover our risks associated with the sport that's occurring, perhaps, so public liability insurance, injuries, making sure that they're suitably insured to cover off on those injuries, etc. So we would do that ordinarily through a licence arrangement anyway. In terms of risk to the court or to the facilities, I'll defer to the Director of Infrastructure if he has anything to add.
Director of Infrastructure?
Through the chair, the court is new and it's been newly coloured and line marked, and through normal use there shouldn't be any damage or risk to the users because it is brand new. So from that perspective, there's very low risk to the users and to the Shire.
Director Community Lifestyle, did you add anything?
Thank you, Madam President. I guess the only thing I would add is that historically community groups have been able to use facilities with very little formalisation of the arrangement in place, but certainly the increased scrutiny and increased focus on risk from our insurers in the last little while, 10 years, has meant that we really do need to formalise these arrangements so that we can ensure that risk to both the people who are using them and also to the ratepayers and the council are mitigated, and that's why we've been doing this catch-up process of trying to initiate leases and formal arrangements for each of our community facilities. So while I absolutely agree that we need to get people on those courts as soon as we possibly can, I can also see that there is a need to have some sort of formal arrangement in place.
CEO, did you want to add anything else to this? Just okay. Councillor Carboni, as a mover, did you wish to? Have you got a question, Councillor?
Yeah, question, please, through the chair. I was just wondering, come February, are we still going to have a headache in between us and the tennis club to get these over the line? Do you think we can work it out between now and then? That's probably the $64 million question, but we don't want to be here in February and say, well, let's put it out to June, because then winter hits and we're going to miss 70 kids a week playing there. So where do we see that?
That will be dependent upon how the Brunswick Tennis Club and the Shire works together to resolve those particular issues that have been identified by the Brunswick Tennis Club. And we have a fairly good lease there already, so it may just need a bit of tweaking to get across the line. So let's work with February 2026 with that at this stage. So Councillor Carboni, you want to speak to your alternate motion?
Yeah, I was actually going to do a report back on January, Councillor Holly, but I thought I'd, with the Christmas break, I'd throw in an extra month. So, look, I think with all the issues raised by Miss Hill, they can be sorted out in a 3-month period with staff. So I think that gives it adequate time. And as Susie has said, we need to get a bit more professional with all this and mitigate our risk in that. So I think it's not a problem.
Councillor Coleman as the seconder.
Right, so can I just clarify that the club will be allowed to use the courts in the interim? Is that what we're talking about here? Yes, we are?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Because my understanding is being new courts, there'll be a warranty period for any of the asset for a start. And my understanding is from the deputation given that there's a bucket load of insurances against students and players and everything else under the hill. So I can't see a reason why they can't get on the court straight away and we can work this lease out in the meantime. We've just heard from the Manager of Governance that there are a number of other clubs around the place that have these interim licences that we're catching up with. No one's falling over on those, so our risk is still out there. I think in this case, our risk is quite low. We should be allowed to get them on the courts and then develop the lease in the meantime.
Any speakers against? Any speakers for? Question, Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I felt the council had, or the staff rather, have a lease policy that covers all clubs. And I'm just wondering if this lease falls outside of that, or what are we negotiating given we have a process already in place for leases?
Manager Governance?
Through the chair, there's no material departures from the community lease policy. It's consistent.
Every other club in the Shire has this particular lease?
Through the chair, it's not identical in that permitted uses can be different. Some of the maintenance requirements are different. There's a table at the back of the community lease policy that covers off on sporting groups, non-for-profits, etc. So there are changes, but they're captured within the community lease policy. So we bring to council as officers where we can leases that are consistent with that policy. And as you've seen with other leases that we've brought before council where there are departures that have been requested that officers feel are reasonable, we note them within the report and capture them as part of the lease arrangement. This lease didn't have any material departures from the lease that was sent in May. The format is different, and so I acknowledge that that those formatting changes and some clarity matters have probably made the lease look different, but it remains consistent with the community lease policy that council have adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Morley, question, or you're speaking for? Or speaking for, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. When Ms Hill was doing her presentation just a short while ago, she did indicate that the club has its own insurance through Tennis Western Australia, I think it was, and other insurance avenues, which include public liability and things of that nature. So I agree that our risk, I believe, is quite low and that we should support Councillor Carboni's motion.
Speakers against? Speaker for? Councillor Carboni, summing up, right of reply? All good? Okay, let's put this one to the vote then, council. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. And I look forward to the report in February where we see a lease that can council can resolve on. Thank you. I'll move on to item 12.1.3. which is the lease agreement for the Riverlinks Childcare Centre. There was some additional information provided in relation to this item, but we do have an officer's recommendation. Anyway. All right, well, do we have a mover? Councillor Bromham, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morley. I believe we have an amendment. Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. For those new councillors that are on board and for us as refreshers, anything that's considered material is $30,000 and above. And point 7 here authorises the CEO to negotiate minor amendments consistent with the community lease policy, including Appendix 1, Attachment 2, and that was in the original briefing that we got. But today's officer recommendation says, and make amendments to the lease that would not considered material as per the Shire Harvey policy 2.29, materiality. Well, anything up to $29,999 per transaction is not material. And I think that that's rather unfair to put that into a lease, which would bind Riverlinks to be able to have to deal with that according to whatever might arise. So my amendment suggests that we go back to deleting that section and says authorises the CEO to negotiate minor amendments consistent with Community Lease Policy 1.1.13, including Appendix 1 Attachment 2, full stop. There shouldn't be any consideration of materiality up to $30,000.
Right, so, all right. We're just getting some advice because we haven't seen this amendment come through yet, Councillor Coleman, so, yeah, just one moment, thank you. Yeah. So do I have a seconder for Councillor Coleman's amendment? Councillor Morley. Okay.
I guess it's just clarity that it was regarding our materiality.
Okay.
And was requested by the club so that we could.
All right. I'm just going to Manager Governance has further information around this amendment, so I'll just go to Ms Williams. Thank you.
Sure. Through the Shire President, this clause was actually aimed to be in their favour and not on the Shire of Harvey, so it was referring to the materiality or spend of council, not the spend of the leaseholder, and that was because there were some minor adjustments in relation to the water charges, for example, where it's currently metered across several buildings, and we weren't sure if we're going to be able to bring in that water charge into the lease agreement. So it's about providing the CEO with some delegation to remove perhaps a water charge as an example if we were unable to include that in the lease. I had a lengthy discussion with the committee at Riverlinks on Monday, and they are struggling a little bit financially, and this clause, I suppose, was enabling the CEO to have some discretion in what council could pay for inside that lease arrangement. Yeah.
So, Councillor Coleman, do you wish to speak to your amendment now? Thank you.
Oh, can do, yep. I couldn't find this in our normal lease policies. I couldn't find it in most of the other leases. And I would have thought that the CEO to negotiate minor amendments consistent with the community leases would have covered that. This specifically mentions material, and the attachment also gave us the material information that allows council, it allows an amount of $30,000 in any one account, transaction or variance to be considered material. So why is it in there if it's not necessary?
Manager Governance.
Through the Chair, we just sought to bring some clarity to the resolution of council and Riverlinks. It perhaps isn't required. However, we're talking about rather small amounts that may be adjusted through the lease. The aim was to give Riverlinks some commitment that beyond the chamber today we can negotiate minor amendments in relation to particularly service charges to the building.
Okay, Councillor Morley as the seconder. Did you wish to speak? Anyone want to speak against it? For?
Against.
Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, if the staff are putting a change to the lease to support the club, I see no reason why you'd want to remove that. Obviously, if there are water charges, electrical charges and things that they can't meet, and the CEO has the ability under the lease as it stands at the moment to actually negate that and pay them from council funds, I would thought that would be something that we would support in relation to supporting this organisation in its ability to survive.
Speaker 4. Councillor Coleman, right of reply.
Yes, thank you. So is clause 7 as it stands by the officer's recommendation, is that consistent with our lease policy?
That's actually a question, but I'll allow that. 'Cause
yeah.
Yeah, I'll allow that question, but you are summing up.
Sure, through the chair. In this particular case, it isn't, and that's why it's included in the resolution. Officers felt that some of the requirements in the lease, such as the water, which is 100% to be paid by community groups as part of the community lease policy, might require a departure within the lease, and we wanted to provide that delegation to the CEO to make that amendment. That's why it's listed in the resolution, and we brought it through into the report to provide that clarity. So the community lease policy is explicit on the payment of those service charges and arrangements. We just wanted to be able to give the CEO some authority to depart from that community lease arrangement.
All righty. Your right of reply. Thank you, Councillor Coleman.
Okay. I understand that, and thank you from the Manager of Governance. I would have thought that authorising the CEO to negotiate minor amendments consistent with community lease policy would have covered that. I would suggest that giving the CEO power to negate things anywhere up to $30,000 is way outside the community lease policy. We have a policy for a reason. The policy was approved by council, and we are always open to discussing and assisting community groups. I think that my amendment should stand. I think it protects council. I think it protects Riverlinks, and it gives us a good indication of a way forward sticking to our policies.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment? 1, 2, 3. Against? 6. The amendment is lost. We'll move back to the officer's recommendation that was moved by Councillor Bromham, seconded by Councillor Morley. Councillor Bromham, did you wish to speak to this one?
Thank you, Madam President. I think I said everything before. I think this way we support the club and we trust our CEO to do a job.
Councillor Morley, did you wish to speak as a seconder? Anyone wish to speak against this one? 4. We'll put this one to the vote then. All those in favour? Against? 2 against. Thank you. Carried. That's 7-2. All right, we're moving to item 12.1.4, which is the Australia Day Citizenship Ceremony. First of all, I am looking for any councillors who may wish to nominate to assist on the day at both Brunswick and Harvey. Do I have? Sorry. Question, councillor. Let me just get these 2 nominations if I can, and then we'll get it on the table and then we'll ask for questions. Yeah? Pardon? Okay. Yep, thank you. So Councillor Holly for Harvey.
Yes, or where I'm told.
Okay, and Councillor. Okay, thank you. Carboni, Councillor Carboni for Brunswick, and Councillor Holly in Harvey. Thank you, councillors. So we have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this? Thank you. Councillor Carboni, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillor Coleman, you have a question?
Sure. Before nominating for anything, I was going to ask what are the duties and what's the time constraints and what are the days and times?
Through the chair, so we're currently working out a bit of a timeline in regards to the Brunswick one, because the timelines are quite tight. We're hoping that we will only require councillors on the day to set up things like the plants, the banners, sign-in conferees. So we need to check everyone's IDs. We also need to meet with the Brunswick Lions Club to ask whether they will have chairs already set up or whether we need to set those chairs up. We'll also need to pack down all of the banners and put them into someone's car to take up to Harvey so that the other councillor can then or between councillors or officers can then do the banners, the signing in, the plants and all of that in Harvey as well.
So although we have Councillor Carbone and Councillor Holly, if there are any other councillors who wish to assist on the day, that would be appreciated. Another question, yes.
Thank you, and thank you for that reply. So particularly in Harvey, they've got their Harvey committee. So do they still need all of that assistance? Because I understand they set up all the chairs and tables and I'm there every year. So what's specifically needed in the Harvey run as well? And is that committee involved in this discussion?
Yes and no. So the Harvey breakfast committee are fantastic. They have the chair set up and the table set up for us. We generally can also go in the day before and set up the plants. They keep them nice and cool for us. And then on the day, it's just a matter of signing in conferees and making sure everything kind of runs smoothly. This year, Australia Day is on a Monday. Am I right in saying that? Which means that we won't be coming in on Sunday to set all the plants and that up. So it'll be setting up the plants, bringing the banner over from Brunswick and signing in conferees. So that is the one that takes up the majority of the time. We're looking at 66. That's adults plus 6. So over the 70 mark at the moment. Depending on how they're split between Brunswick and Harvey will depend on how busy we are in either place, because every single person needs to have their ID checked, written down and then signed off. That is where we need majority of the help, because they all come nice and early, they have their breakfast, they're very excited, and if there's no one there to be able to do it, it creates a bit of a line.
Yes, Councillor Coleman.
So could Councillor Holly and Councillor Carbone, I think, have volunteered, but others of us could help, could assist? Yeah? Okay.
The more assistance, the better. Through the chair, that'll probably be Michelle Barnes.
Alrighty, so thank you for that, Freya. So we have an officer's recommendation here that's been moved by Councillor Carbone, seconded by Councillor Bromham. Councillor Carbone, did you want to speak? I don't think so, no. Councillor Bromham? No. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. Infrastructure services is nil. Sustainable development is nil. We will move into corporate services, 12.4.1, payments for October 2025. Have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Holly. Seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion? Put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. I move on to item 12.4.2, financial statements as at the 30th of September. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Morley, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. And 12.4.3, which is the financial statements as at the 31st of October. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Coleman, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Bromham. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you, councillors. Moving now into community and lifestyle, item 12.5.1, which is the ACROD parking bays forward planning. We have an officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Holly, thank you. A seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Holly? No. You don't want to speak to this?
See it happen to keep things moving.
Thank you. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah. Given the information provided us on the removal of chairs out the back of vehicles and things like that, well, my question is, are we ensuring that our aqua bays are long enough when they're on the side of the road to actually facilitate that?
Mr Kettner, are you able to respond to that question?
Thank you, Madam President. The intention would be to make all the bays compliant wherever possible. So that's the long answer to say yes.
All righty. Councillor Holly, have you got a question? Because you have spoken, so.
It's more of a statement about that question.
Okay.
If I may.
You may.
I remember the ex-councillor, Director, well done, good point, did specify to me when that one went in that it was longer than normal because of the question that has come about. So I'm pretty sure, I've tried to find the email but I can't, but I'm pretty sure I've got notes of that direction.
Any speakers against? Speakers for? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. Alrighty, we will now move into item 13, elected members' motions, of which previous notice has been given. We are now dealing with Councillor Carboni's notice of motion. Alright, obviously Councillor Carboni is going to move that one. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bromham. Now, I do have an amendment, Councillor Coleman, is that correct? Yes. Okay, would you like to proceed with your amendment?
Thank you. Whilst I concur with Councillor Carboni's intent, our policy, and we say it over and over and over, our promise to the community is that we will keep you informed. So I would just like to rearrange some of those dot points so that an assessment of the criteria, an outline of the process, the potential costs and benefits are actually provided before we go to community consultation, because to me there's no point having community consultation if we don't know what we're consulting about. We don't have those facts and figures for them. So whilst I totally agree with the intent, I don't think there's any point in having community consultation if we can't give them costs, benefits, transition process, etc. So I've just realigned those and then bring a report back to council with the recommendations and the results of the community consultation, which will be far more fully informed.
Is that the one that's up on the screen? Yes. Yeah, okay. I need a seconder for that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hitchcock. Okay. We'll debate it now. Yeah.
Madam President, I'm happy to incorporate those amendments into the original motion.
We'll have to move that amendment, but yeah, okay then. So, Councillor Coleman, did you wish to say anything further as the mover? Okay. Councillor Hitchcock as the seconder. Okay then. So we'll put this one then to the vote if Councillor Carboni is happy with that. So, and then that will become the substantive. So we'll put this one to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the amendment? Against? No, one against. Thank you. 8-1. That now becomes the substantive. So, Councillor Carboni, did you wish to speak to this one now? Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. This is probably the most important motion to come before this council in the history of the Shire. The 64 years of history since the Shire was first formed on the 1st of July 1961. This proposal's been around for a while. It's certainly been spoken about in the corridors here for a number of years. Indeed, Councillor Bromham said to me before the meeting that he spoke to me about this quite some time ago. So basically this is all about funding. It's all about getting the funding we need to do the projects we've got coming up in the future. And we don't need millions of dollars, we need hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 10 years to do the things that this Shires needs. And we've heard some of them today in the meetings that we've had prior to this meeting. Old age housing in Harvey, the old age housing that Harvey requires. Tourism last week that was brought up, the 180,000 visitors that go through Logbrook Dam a year now. Disaster relief funding that we never got because it went to Bunbury. Stanley Road line cells that need to be done to take our rubbish into the future. Our infrastructure through all our towns that's ageing, the town halls, the footy clubs, the tennis clubs, all the facilities that are ageing that needs funding to make that to go forward. So becoming a city status will give us a front row seat with state and federal politicians, certainly in those parliaments. And if we can get those two people in the offices of those doors in Canberra, then that's what we need to do to get the funding that we need. So it's all about increasing our stature. It's all about increasing our significance and the perception where we're perceived as a shire or where we're perceived as a municipality in WA and indeed Australia. And at the moment we're seen as a tack on rural shire tacked on to the city of Bunbury. So look, if you're against this motion, then you support rate increases because that's the only way that we can fund the things that we need to do going into the future. And as I said here last week, we raise about $40 million a year in rates through our rate notices. That all goes on salaries. That all goes on salaries. So we're totally dependent on grant funding. So I'm not even sure when we do a cost-benefit analysis or whatever how we can prove what funding we'll get when we do become a city, but all I know is perception-wise and through stature, we're in a better position to be able to do that. Now, I've brought up amalgamation twice and people have said, you know, what about amalgamation? I've brought that up twice before at this council. A long time ago to speak to other shires in the surrounding areas and it was defeated. I brought it up more recently to speak to the Shire of Dardanup about amalgamating with the Shire of Dardanup and it was defeated. And look, I get it. People are worried in Yarloop that if we became integrated with the city of Bunbury that Yarloop wouldn't get any funding. You know, I get it that the people that live in these towns that are furthest away from Bunbury would see that they mightn't get funds. So amalgamation is dead and buried as far as I'm concerned. And the Labor Party, when they were in government for 2 terms, when they controlled both houses of Parliament, could have implemented it at any time and they didn't. They lost the upper house at the last election, so that opportunity's passed as well. So the best way we're positioned now to get more funding is for us to become city status. Now, people have said to me, oh, you didn't put this up before the election, and you all know around this room on Facebook, I was putting up policies every couple of days, what I wanted to do, my vision for the future. But when these lefty community sites decided that they didn't like what I was saying about abolishing the welcome to country, when I sent them a Facebook post about all the abuse I get because of the posts that they put up and all the negative comments, they blocked me. And I'm still blocked to this day off the community websites. So don't come and complain here to me that I didn't tell you what I was doing because you blocked me from your websites. It's as simple as that. Now, in the Act, the Local Government Act, Section 3.7 of the Act says the role of council is to plan strategically for the future of the district and, importantly, provide strategic direction to the CEO. And that's what this is all about. It's about being strategic. The Shire of Harvey now exceeds 30,000 residents. In fact, we're probably just about on par today with the city of Bunbury. We're experiencing rapid growth in the coastal areas, obviously of Australind and Binningup and Myla. And when, as we know here, we've got significant subdivisions coming on in the next few years, which will see our population increase by another 10,000 residents in the next 10 years. We're going to be up with the city of Busselton. So the district demonstrates strong economic capacity, administrative maturity, and a cohesive community identity consistent with city status. We meet and far exceed the 20,000 population target for a regional city as set out in the Act. Now look, transitioning to a city will obviously give a stronger recognition and regional identity. City status strengthens Harvey's regional importance, helps market Harvey as a major centre in the southwest. It's beneficial for attracting professionals, investment and tourism. Increases our ability to attract funding, as I've said before. Cities often have improved leverage for state and federal funding, major infrastructure grants, community development programs, and a stronger bargaining position compared with remaining a shire. Support for growth and urban planning. Harvey, as I've said, Harvey's one of the fastest growing areas in WA. City status helps manage the large population growth, urban expansion of Australian, Trendale and Binningup, and better long-term planning tools and infrastructure standards. It's good for community and business confidence. It signals stability and opportunity. Sees an upgrade that can attract new businesses, health services, education expansion and private investment. And of course, it gives us an enhanced civic identity. City branding supports tourism marketing, events and cultural projects, and it gives us a regional leadership role. Now, obviously, there's going to be some opposition. There already has been. And unfortunately, and it is unfortunate, it's been prosecuted in social media before we've even had a chance to debate it here. I guess that's the price of social media today. But obviously, you know, people will expect higher community expectations. They think there might be a risk to rate increases. They worry about the cost of transitioning to a city, the rebranding, you know, the stationery, the logos, etc. And the diverse community needs that might come out of it. And of course, there's the government pressure associated with it as well. Look, the Shire of Roebourne went through this in 2014 when they became the City of Karratha. Reached their 20,000. They've got country towns. They've got 5 country towns just as we have. You know, it was done there, and look at the success of the City of Karratha today. Look at the success of the City of Busselton when they reached the 20,000 target and decided to become a city there. These are the guys that are getting, Bunbury and Busselton in particular, are getting all the funding. You only saw last week the Prime Minister fly into Bunbury and just drop $50 million in their hand to provide grey water for the Hay Park Recreation Facility. When we went to the budget lunch last year, and Councillor Campbell and Councillor Dickinson were there, and we went through the glossy brochure to see what our shire was getting, of course, and all the other shires were sitting there. Nothing in there, and the Premier of WA just pulled out $15 million and gave it to the City of Bunbury for courts in Hay Park. They've got the city status. And let's be honest, the City of Bunbury are piggybacking off the surrounding shires. They're using our numbers of the shires of Capel, the Dalyellop in Capel, of Eaton in the Shire of Dardanup, now Australian numbers, to say, oh look, we got 80,000 people in the City of Bunbury. They're piggybacking off us to get the funding that they want. So it's time we stood up for ourselves. City of Bunbury's got 67 is an area of 67 square kilometres. Ours is 1,766 square kilometres. City of Bunbury's got 1.4 kilometres of unsealed roads. We've got 450 kilometres of unsealed roads. The City of Bunbury's got 324 kilometres of sealed roads. We've got 623 kilometres of sealed roads. We've got 8 towns, they've got 1 city to look after. We need the funding. For as long as I've been on council, Gerald Fry wants Perrin Road bitumised. Val Piggott wants Inkerman Road bitumised. Tony Ferraro in Yarloop wants his road fixed up next to him. We simply haven't had the funding in 14 years of being on council to do these sorts of jobs. Now look, this motion adequately covers all the concerns, the amended motion that Councillor Coleman's put in with the checks and balances to come back. A report will come back to council, and look, you know, maybe it'll show a plus. Like I said, it's very subjective because you don't know what funding you're going to get into the future. So look, all I can say to the people out there, and I know there's a lot of people listening today, don't listen to disgruntled former councillors or shire staff. Don't listen to all the white noise on Facebook. Let us look at it as facts. The facts will come back to council. If you want this shire to go forward in the future, then we need to embrace this, be strategic and take this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. And I'm just confirming, Councillor Carboni, before I go to Councillor Bromham, that we are speaking to the item that's up on the screen now, the amendment that includes 4 and 5.
Yeah, correct.
Correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Just seeking clarification. Councillor Bromham, over to you as the seconder. Thank you. Did you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I will, through the chair. I'm an Anglo-Saxon. I'm not quite as engaging as Councillor Camboni. I don't get run away with my emotions. But what I'd like to say is this is an investigation that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, council needs to make decisions on rational basis. And to do that, we've got to be able to go out there and get the information first, and then we can make an informed decision. I think Councillor Carboni has said everything about the benefits that flow from being a city. Obviously, there may be some pitfalls too we need to know about. And you can't do that unless you do an investigation. And this is brought back so people actually can talk about it in an informed manner.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. Is there a speaker against? Councillor Carboni, if you just want to turn your microphone off so we can't hear you breathing. Breathing. A speaker against? Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand and truly appreciate Councillor Carboni's passion for this issue. I'm not sure that my opposition at this time supports rate increases, and to be quite honest, I find it a bit objectionable that he would pass that judgment of me, but nevertheless, I clarify that I don't support unnecessary rate increases, but I haven't seen any evidence to suggest extra funding or guarantees in the future would arise as a result of this motion. But we'll see should this motion progress. In regard to Councillor Carboni's motion, I wish for the Council to note my concerns, and that before progressing this motion any further, that Council ensures that a voluntary poll of electors occurs, asking two clear questions. These being, do you want a transition to city status? Yes or no? If a transition to city occurs, do you want a change of name from the city of Harvey to another? Yes or no? These two simple questions will demonstrate the Council's commitment to providing greater community participation in the decisions and affairs of local government. It is a formal way to demonstrate the community's position on significant issues such as structural changes, boundary changes, amalgamations, or a potential move towards city status. Council is expected to ensure that any consideration of major structural change, including alteration of district status, occurs only after comprehensive, transparent and demonstrated community engagement, and only where there is a straightforward evidence of broad community understanding and support. At this stage, I'm concerned that the motion may be interpreted as signalling a predisposition towards pursuing directional or predetermined city status before the community has been adequately informed or meaningfully consulted. We must avoid proceeding with proposals that may not reflect the community's values, aspirations or identity, and must ensure that any consultation is genuine, accessible, inclusive and sufficiently resourced to capture the diverse views across the district. Further, we need to clearly articulate the rationale for change, the potential impacts, financial, cultural, operational and social, and the long-term implication for rates, services and community identity. Given the scale and significance of the proposal and its potential to influence our Shire's identity, governance structures, service expectations and financial obligations for decades to come, I hold concern that initiating investigative work without first confirming the community's appetite for such exploration may be inconsistent with both best practice and the interests of the community. I therefore urge that Council proceed cautiously, ensuring transparent communication outlining what city status entails, both benefits and risks when asking residents for their views, that council remains neutral during preliminary engagement, respecting that the question of whether to explore city status rests fundamentally with the community, and any subsequent report back to the council includes unmistakable evidence that the consultation met the standards of openness, representativeness and integrity required under the guidelines. This concern is raised to uphold our council's commitment to transparent, responsible and community-led decision-making. Until broad informed community sentiment is established, I cannot support Councillor Carboni's motion and therefore will vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Do I have a speaker for? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. I thank Councillor Carboni for allowing a rejigging of the information so that a full and comprehensive information, as extensive as we can possibly get it, will go to our community before and allow them to make a decision before it comes back to us after the consultation. There's been, and the reason that I proposed that, and I thank Councillor Morley for reaffirming the fact that it is absolutely necessary to bring the community along with us. The community must be informed. It's part of our mantra is, we will keep you informed, hence the rearranging for the motion. My understanding is that city status will not negate our regional status, as has been proven by Bunbury and Busselton and others. But that's misinformation out there. By allowing this motion to go forward, we are not endorsing city status in any shape or form. What we're endorsing is fact-finding to allow the community members and ourselves to find out exactly what is required. I also discovered in some of the research that I was doing that any costings towards such a city status based against some of the Facebook information that we've received will be transitional, so that for example, as a staff member leaves, their new uniform would have the new logo on it, perhaps. It wouldn't be replaced overnight. It took us some 5 years to replace a lot of the signage around Harvey when we changed the logo many years ago, and so that would be it would be a transition through to all of the other bits and pieces that must happen. So the motion will actually just provide clarity. It'll provide clarity to staff, to councillors, and most importantly to the community, to allow them to have informed debate. It'll also get some of that emotion out, because change is always a bit scary for every single one of us, whether we admit it or not. We can get the emotion out, then listen to the facts. Look at the facts and figures. So I would suggest that councillors support this motion and allow the community to have a say, because by denying that, we're actually denying them the ability to have a say in the very future of this shire as it stands. And our job as councillors is to look at the forward 25 to 30 year plan. So I strongly suggest we look at this, we approve it on the basis that this will give the best, most comprehensive information to our community that they've had in a very long time.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Holly.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Carboni on his presentation and motion. I'm quite for it, with the exception of a couple of little things that have both been brought up by Councillor Morley and Councillor Coleman. I think there's a lot of assumptions out there about the city. It's going to cost us this, going to cost ratepayers that, and it's a shame that people listen to these sookbook things that are on whatever it's called these days, and it's not the right forum to have it on. I think we've got the right forum here to do it, to find out the facts, but I would strongly support remaining the City of Harvey, of course. That's one passion, but that's one question we could have down the track as well. But I think we're losing too much money or too much opportunity to obtain money to not see this go forward under the right measures.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Anyone speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you. The reason that I am for this motion is because I think there are a lot of questions about this motion, and this gives us the opportunity to ask those questions and to get the answers for the questions. It gives us the opportunity to engage with the community, to get the feeling of what the community is. We are a growing shire. We have growing population areas. We are going to need more resources and more funding, and we need to be able to identify best where we can advocate and source that. So I believe that this motion helps us to go forward and to get the answers in order for us to make a more informed decision when it comes back to us in the future to vote on whether or not we change to a city status or whether we just stay the same. But this gives us the opportunity to have more information and to have a more informed debate.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. A speaker against? Speaker for? I'll speak for the, in support of this notice of motion. As has been said, this motion is not making a predetermined decision today. It's purely gathering the facts, assessing our current position, consulting and educating our communities through an informed and transparent conversation about the future of our shire. As Councillor Carboni indicated, over recent years, our population has grown significantly, with projections indicating significant growth and expansion. With that growth comes greater complexity in our planning, increasing demands on our infrastructure, service delivery, economic development needs, community wants and expectations. And many of those issues we are facing today, such as housing demands, increased commercial activity and evolving community expectations, are consistent with what many established cities have already navigated through. Reclassification to a city could bring a number of potential benefits worth exploring. These may include stronger recognition at state and federal level, increased eligibility for certain grants and funding streams, and enhanced interest for business and tourism investment. City status may also reflect our identity more accurately. We are all aware of the past and recent discussions around amalgamation and boundary adjustments, and I do not support either. That would have far-reaching implications for our communities and could affect how we live, work and connect as a community. However, a city status could strengthen our position and provide greater leverage against any future amalgamation pressures. However, we cannot determine the true value of these benefits without a thorough and evidence-based investigation. So I ask Council, if not now, when? When will we be in a position to undertake this investigation and community consultation? Waiting until growth overtakes our capacity to plan is not responsible governance. Proactively examining our status ensures we are preparing for the future rather than reacting to it. It is thinking strategically, and it's ensuring we as a council can make a well-informed decision. However, crucially, community consultation must sit at the heart of this process. Any consideration of reclassification should reflect the views, the aspirations and concerns of the people who call the Shire of Harvey home. An investigation will allow us to present that clear information to our residents and seek meaningful feedback before any further steps are contemplated by Council. What could those further steps look like after reviewing the results of the community consultation? It may be that no further action is taken at this time. It may be, let's bring it back when we review our council plan. It could be we receive overwhelming support from the community and we progress. Who knows? So that is why the community consultation element about this particular notice of motion is so important and crucial to us moving forward. So supporting this notice of motion does not mean the Shire of Harvey will immediately lose its rural, urban and coastal identity and diversity overnight. Will our farmers still be able to move their cattle across South West Highway tomorrow? Of course they will. Will the farmers' vehicles be allowed on our roads tomorrow? Yes, they will. Will there be multi-storey buildings appearing in Australind overnight? No, there won't. My family and extended family have lived in the Shire of Harvey for 6 generations, and I'm so fortunate to have grown up here, to have been able to raise our children and now our grandchildren in this beautiful part of the world. And we are truly blessed. And my father and godfather, who lived, worked and played in Australind for most of their lives, that's 85 years respectively, and my grandfather and great-grandfather who farmed in Brunswick, I often had discussions with them about the progress of our shire as long-term residents who had witnessed such significant population growth and infrastructure changes over their lifetime. They were always happy with the progress, and they always commented in the positive, and they even understood the need to meet the demands of a growing population. So council needs to be continually planning for the future, to be thinking strategically. That's what we're here for, and to ensure the Shire of Harvey is best placed to meet the needs and the service delivery of our growing population. So for those reasons, I do support this notice of motion. Any speakers against? Councillor Carboni, right of reply.
Thank you, Madam President, and I couldn't have done it any better than what you could have than what you've just done. But I, like yourself, Madam President, on my mother's side of the family, my great-great-grandfather was James Rogers, who was a convict and settled in Australind in 1862, and the Rogers family has been a part of this shire for all that 160 plus years. And in fact, Tanya Jackson, who was a Rogers, my second cousin, was a president of this shire as well. And on my father's side, as an Italian immigrant, my grandfather came here in 1926. Next year, 100 years of the Carbonis in this shire, operating this shire. So to think that I had self-interest or whatever was accused of last week is just preposterous. But yes, wholeheartedly agree with what you've just said. This is about strategic direction. I've never been against community consultation. This is the beginning of what will be a long path to maybe, hopefully, get us to city status. And as I said, we need the funding to do the things that we want to do in this shire.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. We require an absolute majority for this vote, councillors, so I shall put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That is carried 8-1. Thank you, councillors. I now move on to a notice of motion for the following week, following month. Feels like the following week, as on the board there. Reports of members. I'm going to go around the room. Generally they are sent in, but are there any councillors that wish to report on anything? Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Madam President. Recently, 2 weeks ago, the Harvey Golf Club held their Harvey Golf Open with over 192 players, both Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and 100 on the Wednesday. The comments about the new clubhouse were second to none. Not a bad word was spoken, and it was just a credit to see the Shire and the golf club working together and going forward. So, pity the golf wasn't that good, but anyway, that's another thing, so the Shire should be complimented on that.
Thank you, Councillor Holly. Any other reports from councillors? Councillor Bromham.
Thank you, Madam President. I was elected as the deputy for the regional road group, and also we moved the motion at that meeting to have a survey on the Forest Highway between the Old Coast Road in Australind and Marriott Road, so that we have an up-to-date understanding of the traffic numbers through there due to the new highway increasing the traffic flow through those two intersections.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. Any more? Councillor Caboni.
Yes, I attended the Brunswick Rodeo on Saturday night, which was an absolute fantastic event. Lots and lots of young people there, all dressed up in their cowboy gear. Security did a fantastic job. There was no queues for drinks or anything like that, so the organisers should be well commended on what was a magnificent event.
Thank you, Councillor Caboni. Any more? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. We had the Harvey Rotary Cycling Regatta on Sunday. It was wetter outside the pool than it was in with the torrential rain. However, it was a good turnout, and we have the commitments from Albemarle and South 32 and GWN 7 ongoing. So thank you very much to those sponsors. People came from Dunsborough, so we had quite a few winners from Dunsborough as well as Harvey. And we had almost 3 times as many entries this year as we did last year. So it's growing. We just need to get the weather a bit better and we'll be right.
I did think of you with all the rain, unfortunately, but I thought, well, they're in the pool anyway, so it's the spectators, I suppose. Yeah, shame. Okay, thank you, councillors. If there's no more, I'll move on to item 16, which is new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting, which is nil. We will now move behind closed doors. If I could have a mover for that, Councillor Holly, a seconder, Councillor Bromham. Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you very much for those members of the public in the gallery. Thank you. Yes, we did.
No,
No, we
we
did.
had mover and seconder.
We've got a
It
mover,
hasn't
so
been
we'll
voted.
put that to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0, thank you. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'll just quickly run through the decisions that were made behind closed doors. In relation to item 17.1.1, 10 Mulgara Street, council has noted the valuation report and resolves not to progress with the sale or subdivision of lot 2, 10 Mulgara Street, Australind at this stage. In relation to item 17.2.1, the officer's recommendation, as per the report, was fully supported by council. In relation to item 17.2.2, capacity improvements for infrastructure services, that was resolved by council by absolute majority as per the report recommendations 8.1. And in regard to item 17.1.2, confidential employee matter, the officer's correction, my motion was endorsed by absolute majority 9-0 as per the recommendation in the report. So being no further business, been a long meeting. Thank you, councillors and staff, and that's